Country Life on Midlands 103. Brought to you by W. Orshaw, Burlington Business Park, Tullamore. Supplier of New Holland tractors in the Midlands. worshaw.ie.
Now, good evening and welcome to Country Life here on Midlands 103. It's MJ Clery with you until 8 p.m. this evening, bringing you the latest from the Midlands and further afield from the worlds of agriculture, food and agribusiness. As always, at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. It is the 18th of February 2026, and thank you all for joining me this evening. Look, lots of rain, cold weather the last few days, more of the same for the coming days. An awful lot of rain falling, and hopefully we are getting to the end of it. Slurry tanks filling and very hard to get a chance to get anything out on fields these days, so hopefully we're coming to the end of it. Now this evening, in a moment, Adam Woods, newly appointed editor of the Irish Farmers Journal, is going to chat to me about his new position. We'll have more on that in just a second. Also this evening, mid-February means lots of calves being born. Paul Dillon from calfpens.ie will join me later to chat about the products he has on offer that may make your life a little bit easier, from calf jackets to cow heists and lots more. More on that a little bit later. Teagasc put out a report on productivity in Irish agriculture for 2025 yesterday, and as a result of excellent grass growing conditions last year, unsurprisingly, productivity was up across the board. Leishman Stan Lawler from Teagasc will join me with more on that during the hour. Unfortunately, the Board Bia and IFA saga has not come to a conclusion since last week. This is the 5th week in a row that I've featured this, and as it is one of the big stories in agriculture, we will continue to feature it until something occurs. A meeting is being held by the IFA in Claremorris tomorrow evening for people who cannot attend protests in Dublin. Brendan Golden from IFA Connacht will join me towards the end of the hour to give details on that. Now, as always, please text me or send me a WhatsApp on 083 30 10 103. And we are going to kick off this evening. We're going to have a chat with Adam Woods, editor of the Irish Farmers Journal. Nice ring to it. You must be delighted. Congratulations.
No, MJ, thanks very much. Appreciate the kind words. No, absolutely. Look, it's an honour and a privilege. I grew up reading the Farmers Journal, and Matt Dempsey and John Shirley were heroes of mine as a young boy, and I'm sort of pinching myself now where I am at the moment. But look, it's a big responsibility, but we've a really dedicated team up there, and that's what it's all about in terms of everybody being experts in their field, excuse the pun. But yeah, look, we'll take it with two hands and we'll drive it on.
Yeah, and I suppose from your own position, Adam, a passionate beef farmer and a passionate beef editor, and obviously your work down in Brazil back before Christmas was really excellent journalism. Beef is your area of expertise and your passion project, but now you're across the board, if you will. Are you going to miss specifically reporting on beef?
Yeah, well, look, I think my love will always be there. I guess with beef, I grew up with beef at home and really interested in that. But it's really good to get a new challenge as well, to get a handle on all those other areas. And look, at farming, I guess, no matter what sector you're in. And as I said about the team, look, we've section editors across all the commodities in terms of dairy, sheep, renewables, agribusiness, tillage. So everybody sort of rows in behind each other in the Farmers Journal to do the very best we can for farmers. And yeah, that's what it's all about. But yeah, it's going to be a new challenge getting a handle on all those sectors.
Yeah, what's the job going to be now, Adam, as opposed to, look, as we said, it was beef. Now you're going to be overseeing this. Are you going to be more desk-based, reviewing? Are you still going to be out and about? How's your working life going to change as a result of being editor?
Yeah, no, still out and about, MJ. That it's really hard to beat that, and you'd be encouraging the team all the time to be out and about with farmers, because that's where you get the bits and pieces, and you get the mood of the industry or the mood of your industry, whatever you're working in. It will be a little bit more reviewing, I guess, stuff from week to week, but not much changes, to be honest. Everybody does their bit up there, as regards might be a little bit more in Dublin, but I'm happy with that. I suppose happy to move on up the ladder a little bit and looking forward to that challenge. I suppose no matter what we do, I've spoken about this a couple of times in the last week about, how do you decide when the pressure is on, what to write and what not to write, and maybe pressure's coming from government or pressure's coming from somebody else to write stuff. I've sort of kept an overarching principle that there's an ethos there in the Farmers Journal that we're fearlessly on the farmer's side, and if you keep that in the back of your head, no matter what you're writing, it'll serve you well. And look, I'll continue to do that in the future. It'll serve me well up to this in 10 years in the journal, and I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I think it's the important thing in the agri-media to always acknowledge that and to be, as you say, on the farmer's side. I suppose what I like about the journal, Adam, and yourself and your colleagues is majority of you are farming as well. So part-time farming and then working as well, same as us all. And that's what brings the element of realism to it. Look, you're going to be a busier man now. How are you going to manage the farm with the new position?
Yeah, look, we've a couple of young people at home coming up, and look, we'll maybe scale it back a wee bit as well. You can't burn the candle at both ends, but look, we're passionate about sucklers at home, small sheep enterprise as well, and we'll keep a bit of that going, but we might have to scale it back a wee bit. But this is a great opportunity for me personally, so I don't want to let that and hold that back over the next few years, hopefully, in terms of the challenges that brings and just manage it appropriately.
Any plans then, Adam? I know you're only in the job a couple of weeks. I meant to do something with you last week, but the programme got away from me. I think this is your second week in charge. Any plans going forward 2026? I know Tullamore Farm was something you were very passionate about as beef editor. I presume that's still going to work in the same vein. Was there anything else you have on the cards?
Yeah, I guess we're sort of looking at digital there at the moment in terms of, things is evolving, and I guess gone are the days, and look, this has been the way for the last number of years, gone are the days where you put out a paper on a Thursday, you go to print on a Wednesday evening, you forget about things until the following week. Like, you have the online app we're almost updating that on an hourly basis at the moment in terms of news stories, videos, podcasts. Seen huge growth in podcasts over the last couple of months, so that's something we're going to focus on. And I guess younger people consuming content differently and maybe consuming content on phones, desktops, iPads or whatever it is. And we need to be conscious of that and make sure that we're sort of best in class in relation to digital. So we'll intend to focus on that. That's not taking away anything from the paper. The paper is number one for us, but that digital piece is definitely going to grow in the years ahead, and we have a number of exciting new things coming online in 2026 on that digital, we'll say, channels.
Yeah, I suppose you do see as well, and I've featured them here on the programme over the last period of time, there's far more bloggers and Instagrammers and TikTokers now from agri backgrounds, and they've amassed huge followings. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people following them globally. So, content is shifting in that direction. You still have, obviously, your old school, pick up the paper on a Thursday and read it over the weekend, but you have to cater for those other people also.
Absolutely, and I suppose with that comes a challenge as well, though, as regards social media. I just spoke to somebody yesterday about this as regards, it's very easy for, I guess, everybody to publisher now in terms of Facebook or any other social media that you have, and really you can put up anything you want, almost in terms of on Facebook, in terms of any commentary or anything, but it's a lot different for us, and sometimes people will say to you, why did you not write that story that was on Facebook there last night, or why did you not write something about that? But as regards the Farmers Journal, we have to, fact check everything and be accurate in what we do and be informed in terms of what we write, because that's our strength. But it is a challenge in relation to social media. All the noise that's out there, we have to distill that and see through that and go with the accurate information in the paper. That's really, really important to us.
Finally, Adam, I'll let you go now, but look, I have to ask you about the Board BIA IFA standoff, I suppose is what we call it at this stage. You mentioned it in your editorial last week, a week on and no real change. What's your viewpoint on this, Adam?
Yeah, no, so it rumbles on. A board meeting again today, and both parties came out saying no progress made, that, look, a constructive dialogue will continue, but I don't know where the out is in this, MJ. It's really hard to see the off-ramp as regards where either side are going to compromise, because I was at the National Council, IFA National Council on Tuesday, and Francie Gorman very, very resolute in his stance. It may take days, it may take weeks, he said, for this to resort or to solve itself. And on the other side as well, the Minister isn't for backing down, Taoiseach Tánaiste isn't for backing down, the board of Board BIA, they're still, we'll say, backing their chairman. So it's really hard to see how this is going to be resolved. But I've been at a couple of farmers' meetings in the last week or 10 days, and to be honest, it's still dominating the question and at those meetings. So it's not petering out of the news cycle. Farmers are very, very passionate, very, very frustrated. So, yeah, we'll watch this space. Somebody has to give somewhere as regards compromise or negotiation, or maybe the chairman steps one side to allow that dialogue be constructive and get a solution. But at the moment, there's no budge in either party.
I thought Pat O'Toole, it popped up on the long read, popped up in the email here just before the programme, and he finished off his article by saying the IFA is determined to stand by its demand. The government seems equally committed to standing by their man. I really hope someone manufactures a way for this to impasse, to be navigated through and soon. That kind of sums it up, Adam, isn't it? We'd all like to just move on from this.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Alice Doyle in front of the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Agriculture last Wednesday night, I thought she sort of alluded to a wee sort of a chink of light there around the chairman, as I said, stepping aside. I thought that would have been seized upon, maybe by either side, but it wasn't. So we're back to square one now again, and we thought maybe there'd be some movement at the board meeting today, but absolutely nothing. 5 protesters still inside. And protesters still outside, and numbers actually building outside that protest area on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I thought the same when I heard Alice Doyle say that. Actually, I mentioned to somebody earlier today, but yeah, same as that. No, nothing occurred. Adam, we will be speaking to you again on the programme, and as we say, congratulations, editor of the Irish Farmers Journal, a great honour, and we look forward to working with you as you continue in the role. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, MJ.
Adam Woods there from the Farmers Journal, and I think the 5th editor, Adam, is of the Irish Farmers Journal. So it is it's a big job and a big publication there. What is it? 270,000 copies of the journal get sold every week. So congratulations to Adam there, and we'll be speaking to him again on the programme. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to look at productivity in Irish agriculture for 2025. Leishman Stan Lawler is going to join us, so stay tuned for that.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
With W.R. Shaw, family owned and serving the Midlands since 1982, we're Ireland's largest independent agri-dealer, specialising in New Holland tractors and parts. With over 40 years' experience, we provide top quality sales, service and support. Visit W.R. Shaw in Tullamore and Carlow or online at wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here in Midlands 103. Now we're talking about productivity for 2025, and we have Leishman Stan Lawler on the line. Stan, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Very welcome, MJ, and thanks for having me on. It's great to be with you.
You're more than welcome, Stan, a local man. First time I've been speaking to you on the programme. And as I said, we're talking about productivity. I'm just looking at the headline here of this report, and it starts with grass growth. So as we know, 2025, great year for grass growth, an average of 13.2 tonnes of dry matter per hectare versus 11.8 tonnes in 2024. So I suppose, unsurprisingly, better grass growth equals better productivity, Stan.
Absolutely, yeah. So I suppose look at to begin with the background to the report that Teagasc launched yesterday, MJ. It's an annual report that we try and do as early as possible. We've done it the last couple of years and we launched it yesterday. So it's basically a snapshot of where the sector sat across all the various enterprises in the year gone in terms of some of the more production and technical aspects of farming and what's happening on the ground. So it complements well some of the other reports that we would publish later in the year, which will be the National Farm Survey on the financial side and things like that. But this is a good snapshot of just where we stand technically. So, yeah, overall, look at I think the 2025, the year gone, was a good year for farming overall, and really, a lot of, the activities and the mood amongst farmers and the performance of a lot of farms is hugely dependent on the weather. And despite, I suppose, the back end last year got a bit messy in terms of it was kind of a lot of rainfall from the autumn on. For the bulk part of the year in terms of the spring and summer, the weather was good. It was a good year for production, whether you were growing grass, whether it was animal performance, or even whether it was crops. And farming fared well on the back of that, both from a production perspective and from and for a lot of the enterprises had a good year financially as well. So in most cases, a lot of the stories are really positive. And you kicked it off there with grass growth, obviously underpins many of the enterprises in Ireland, whether it's dairy or beef or sheep. An exceptionally good year for grass growth, and across all those enterprises, it was a great chance to capitalise on that. And we've seen good technical performance, particularly in dairy, but also in sheep and beef, particularly on grass utilisation on foot of that.
Yeah, let's have a look down through the different areas. Then we start with dairy, and opening line is milk production increased by 5%. So look, no surprise there really with good grass growth. But an interesting one is change in calf crop from the dairy herd. 63% of dairy births registered were to a beef sire in 2025. This is really interesting, Stan. It shows, I suppose, sex semen working really well now in the last couple of years after possibly a slow start, but I suppose people were just getting used to it.
Yeah, I think, and that story goes hand in hand, I suppose, in terms of the part of the report that deals with the dairy beef sector as well. So, productivity on dairy was good last year. Milk supply and milk production was well up. If you read into the details of that, it did come that cow numbers were very stable. if anything, declined ever so slightly. So there was very good, efficient production over the dairy system, driven largely by good grass growth, good grass utilisation, but also driven well by the fact that the dairy herd continues to make huge progress in genetic gain in terms of adoption of the EBI and so on, continuing to grow year on year by €5 or more in terms of EBI. So that's very important. But the big success story there, thinking into the dairy beef side as well, is the adoption of those genetic technologies and breeding technologies, which are really helping to boost the quality of the calves that are coming through from the dairy herd to going into the dairy beef systems. And when you see the use of sex semen, obviously gives huge opportunity in terms of allowing more beef breeds into the system in terms of calves in the dairy herd, but also the adoption, and you can see it coming through in terms of the improvement in the commercial beef value there. That the dairy farmers are really, I think, have embraced what's available there in terms of the help to try and make that beef calf coming off the dairy cow a better product and better value in terms of the beef production chain afterwards.
Yeah, well, it's a win-win for everyone. Then the dairy farmer is getting to sell a good calf, getting more money for it, and then the beef farmer who's purchasing it and getting a good animal that he or she can add value to and go on and they can kill into a good carcass. So it's great to see, and long may it continue, and more is where it's going to go as we continue. If we look at beef 2025, obviously, look, great year for beef farmers. People were waiting their whole lives to get the kind of prices they got in 2025. Interestingly, when I'm looking at the figures, slaughterings fell by approximately 100,000 head, which is quite a few. However, this was offset by a 5 kg increase in average carcass weight. So less cattle, but maybe slightly better quality.
Yeah, no, for sure. The less output through the prime cattle slaughter was definitely a feature last year. That's driven a little bit by maybe the variation over time in live exports as well. So you get years where maybe there's a peak in calf exports and so on, so there's slightly less cattle in the system, so that's probably a factor there as well. Potentially always on slaughterings, there's both in sheep and cattle, there's always maybe a little bit of trading across border, which are captured maybe in slaughterings north or south of the border as well. But certainly the output from the plants was down on the basis of the numbers, but encouragingly there on the carcass weights were up 5 kilos on average last year, from 326 going up to 331. So that partially offsets, I suppose, the reduction in numbers as well. But overall, I think on the beef side, particularly in the suckler systems, the profitability last year was super. I mean, across all the grades of cattle, there was a huge lift in the price, and that was very welcome and very necessary, and it kind of made the year very respectable in terms of the profitability on beef farms. And I suppose on the technical performance, I think there's an opportunity now. The fact that for a long time, in fairness to beef farmers, it has been maybe the rewards for engaging in terms of really trying to push on with technical performance when prices are relatively modest. The rewards for that are relatively small, whereas when you start seeing profitability in the system, I think it gives a chance for all beef farmers maybe to look at, really the rewards from trying to, whether it's using grass utilization to a better extent, whether it's, improving the genetic gain of the suckler herd and through replacements and so on. Or even looking at things around the system, such as age at first calving and things like that. Those are the things, I think, as when we're in a better position on profitability, that actually the rewards for engaging on those even get higher and higher. So I think an opportunity for that now, as hopefully we will remain in a higher beef price scenario into the medium term future. There's an opportunity for better technical engagement on that and more progress on farms with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Sheep, Stan, just looking at it here, and while incomes increased well for 2025, I suppose it's alarmingly high. Really, I didn't think it was this, but lamb production decreased significantly by 17%. That is a big number.
Yeah, and it follows a drop the previous year as well. So that is a big concern for the sheep sector. Interestingly, one thing about we have obviously we have some data for sheep as well as for cattle, but our the system we have for cattle data in terms of exact numbers is a lot maybe more better than we have for sheep. So we're depending on a few different sources, but still when you compare the slaughterings, as you say, down 17%, the ewe numbers, the breeding ewe numbers are back somewhat as well, but a lot less than the slaughterings are. We reckon back about 3% if you look at the CSO data in relation to sheep census figures for ewe numbers. So The slaughterings, as I say, similar to cattle, can be impacted by maybe cross-border trading and so on. But definitely, from a throughput at factory level, we need to be looking very hard about keeping the throughput of our lambs at a sustainable level to allow our the processors to be able to retain good markets for lamb and so on. That we continue to maintain the industry. But that said, again, prices are quite good. Profitability in sheep farms will be up again in 2025, which is a positive for everybody. So again, that's an opportunity, I suppose, maybe to make sure we drive on with output, and also some of the technical performance improvements we can make there too.
Yeah, pig farming, Stan, and pig farmers are an extremely, no more than farmers in any walk of life, but they're extremely resilient farmers. They face serious price issues over the years. 2022 was a noticeable one, but looking at 2025, interesting and positive, highest ever feed conversion figures. Sows producing just over 2.5 tonnes of meat from just shy of 9 tonnes of feed. So obviously, again, genetics playing a part here, and things working well, converting this well in pig farming.
Oh, absolutely. A hugely resilient sector, as you say, MJ, has to cope with huge volatility in prices, and compared to what was a real economic crisis for the pig sector in 2022, it has recovered very well. And the technical improvements that have been made continuously by the pig sector over the years, it really is a jewel in the crown of the whole agri-food system in Ireland, because the technical performance levels of pig farmers in Ireland is by any international standards, that we really are at the top level. You mentioned it there. Some of the stats: pigs born alive per litre now has gone to above 15, which is huge. All through genetic gain and so on. Feed conversion efficiencies, the top 25% are now producing a kilo of pig meat for every 2.3 kilos of feed used. It's an incredible feed conversion efficiency, and similarly, you look at even something like pigs produced per sow per year, which is it's a combination of the litter size, it's a combination of the pigs born alive, and it's a combination of the feed conversion efficiency to get pigs through the system as quickly as possible. But the top 10% of farms now are producing over 29 pigs per sow per year. It's an incredible figure, and it's a wonderful success to the whole pig industry, and particularly pig farmers that are really driving on it, and the standard of farming to achieve those figures is a really, really high level. And when you get a year when the pig prices are good, it puts the pig sector in a good position to take advantage of that, because systems become quite profitable when you have good technical performance underpinning that, because you take advantage of good prices.
Lastly, Stan, just going to look at tillage before I let you go. Looking, obviously, as we know, and we've spoken about here in the programme regularly over the course of the last period of time, tillage farmers going through a very tough time in relation to prices. Last year, lower grain prices. There was a modest improvement on the previous year, but a line here from the report is: associated livestock enterprises and tillage farms were largely responsible for this modest increase. And again, that is something we would hear in the programme when we're speaking to tillage farmers. It's the little beef enterprise on the side or whatnot that's kind of keeping them going at the moment.
Oh, definitely. And we have to be very careful, and we are very careful how we even talk about tillage profitability, particularly from things like National Farm Survey, because of that exact factor, as you said, that a lot of farms have mixed enterprises. They have maybe livestock on the farm as well that are kind of helping in terms of the overall cash flow, the overall balance on the farm. Last year on tillage farms, not a bad production year. Yields across the various crops were certainly at or above what should say would be normal averages. Now, it wasn't a bumper year in a lot of crops, but it was a good year nonetheless. But the big issue was price, and the price squeeze, putting huge pressure on margins across all of the crops is a major concern. We lost as well on the tillage side. There's a lot of progress being made in other areas as well. I mean, the non-cereal break crop percentage continues to be high, over about 24% last year. We have huge adoption of cover crops actually on tillage farms, helping a little bit on the water quality side, but also helping in terms of nutrient retention and in terms of soil health and things like that as well. So I suppose supported by the acre scheme in the first instance, but a huge uptake last year on the water EIP measure to establish cover crops as well. A lot of farmers availed of that, and we've seen it, compared to 2024, over 50,000 hectares now of cover crops planted, which is a huge number, it's a huge, not to be lost in terms of the efforts the tillage farmers are making there in terms of establishing those cover crops as well. But, aside from all that, certainly profitability into the future, it's a major challenge on tillage farms, and I think that's it's important to bear that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Stan. Look, I'm going to let you go, Stan. Thanks a million for running down through that. Really interesting report there, and it's available on the Teagasc website. We will speak to you again on the programme, Stan, and thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks very much, MJ. Appreciate that.
Stan Lawler there from Teagasc, and as we saw, output across the board increase, and for tillage farmers you will just hope that 2026 will garner better prices for what is going through serious issues at the moment. And it is those enterprises on the side, the beef enterprises, be it sheep enterprises, whatever the case may be, that are bringing in the cash flow for tillage farmers at the moment. And we have to remember that when you see those figures, because sometimes they are a little bit inflated, and that's where they're coming from at the moment, because some tillage crops, especially on Connacht, are they're not even washing their face at the moment, given prices where they are at. Now, coming up after the break, Paul Dillon from calfpens.ie is going to join us about all the different products he has available and how they may make your life a little bit easier. Stay tuned.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
Brought to you by W.R. Shaw, where New Holland isn't just a brand, it's our passion. For over 40 years, we've been Ireland's trusted name for New Holland tractors, parts and farm machinery. Whether you need new, used or ex-hire tractors, we've got you covered. wrshaw.ie.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now we're moving on to products that may help you or make your life a little bit easier over the calving season. Paul Dillon from calfpens.ie joins me. Paul, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me, MJ.
You're more than welcome, Paul. I'm on your website here, calfpens.ie, and a host of different products for farmers, especially dairy farmers and calf rearing farmers, be it in a beef system. You have lots of different options here, but one of them that's standing out for me, and look, they're well known now, especially around dairy farms. They are your calf jacket. A number of years ago, I don't think we ever saw a jacket on a calf. Now they are very common.
Yeah, I milked cows myself for 25 years and I never used a calf jacket. It was unheard of, actually. So I haven't milked cows now for a few years, maybe at least 10 years. So back then it was unheard of to use calf jackets. So I would have been one of the people that would have been very sceptical of their benefits. But I just see now anyone that uses calf jackets, and not just my jackets, any jackets, they swear by them. And it's logical, I suppose, when you think of it. If you had a litter of pups or day-old chickens, you'd be putting a red lamp over them. So a newborn calf, in the same way, is quite cold for the first few weeks, because the temperatures at night at the moment, they're probably close to zero a lot of nights. So it is just too cold for calves. So the jacket is one way of keeping the calf warm, but also making sure he has fresh air. Because fresh air is cold air, so it's trying to balance, get a fresh air and keep the calf warm. So the jacket does solve the problem.
Yeah, at a price point then of €25, that's including VAT and delivery. I see here on the website. It's not a king's ransom is what you're charging for them. The colour scheme as well. Who came up with the pink, Paul? They're very. When you see them once, you'll remember them.
Well, it was my own idea, actually, because I suppose traditionally my own mother would have fed the calves, and a lot of ladies feed the calves. So I said, we'll maybe the colours might appeal more to the ladies, in which they do, actually. It's unusual when we go to shows. It's always the ladies that come inquiring about them. So I suppose it's just I think actually ladies are actually better at feeding calves anyway as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Lots and lots of farms. It's be it the wife or girlfriend or indeed the mother of the dairy farmer who is in charge of the calves, and their attention to detail does lend to calf rearing better than maybe men. We're looking down here.
There's no maybe about it.
Well, there's no maybe. Yeah, there's no maybe. You're right, Paul.
I'm convinced that the ladies just understand the importance of hygiene and warmth and things like that a lot better. So
yeah,
that's from my experience.
Yeah, 100%. As I look down through the website, Paul, I see a product here that no farmer wants to use, but unfortunately many of us have had to use it at some stage, and that's the cow harness. Now, your cow harness very different to if you say cow harness to me, I'll think of a product. It used to be in our neighbourhood. One farmer would have it, and you'd go looking for it, but it was a clasp essentially onto the cow's hips, and then you lift with a front loader, and it was very intrusive, and to be honest it didn't really work. Very rarely a cow would get up after it. Yours is a harness, strap harness, goes underneath the cow, and this is your own design, Paul.
Yeah, we started making those about 35 years ago when I was milking cows myself, and would have used the hip clamp as well, and found it frustrating that the hip clamp was probably the only other option that was available at the time. But it's a very cruel, rough way of lifting a cow. So I kind of got scratching my head and set about designing a harness, and I bought a sewing machine and started making harnesses, and would have made some and sold them locally. But then I was milking cows, so for years I stopped making them. But actually during COVID, out of boredom almost, we started making the harnesses again. And now that the world has gotten to be a very small place with the internet, we sell harnesses all over the world. They go to Australia, we send them to Japan, they go to America, every country in Europe. So, but I suppose the big advantage of the harness is once you put it on the cow, you can leave it on her. So like your cow, you could be lifting her for 2 weeks, but one person can manage alone. So, and even though I have videos there on the website of cows when they're lifted and calves drinking them, and so one person can lift the cow, let out a calf, the calf can drink her, let her down again after 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's a big USP to it, Paul, yeah.
Yeah, so, and if you wanted to put a cow out in the field for a few hours, you can transport her any distance, and she can't fall off of it.
It's, as I said, it's the one product that no farmer likes using, but unfortunately over the course of the spring it's almost always going to have to be used, especially on a larger herd. What's the price point of the harness, Paul?
They're $395 including the VAT delivered.
Yeah. And a lifetime job.
One thing I would say about the harness as well, and I know, as you say, nobody ever wants to use one, but if you move a cow that goes down, it's probably 50% of cows will never get up, even with a harness. That's the reality. They're down for a reason. Sometimes they can have a very serious injury. So, but if you want the cow to get up, you have to give her the best of care, and the best of care means getting her up within 24 hours of her going down, lifting her. Because if you leave a cow down for a week and start lifting her, she has done a lot of damage to herself by being lying down for a week. So it's very important to start getting them up straight away. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They have a cow down and they don't actually have the harness. And if it happens on a Friday and they order the harness on Friday, it won't be delivered until Monday at least. So you've lost 3 or 4 days. Now her chances of recovery have reduced. So I would, even though it is a sales point, I would encourage everyone, have the harness up on the shelf. It's great if you don't need it, but if you do need it, that you're not having to look for it in a hurry, because that happens. Like, we get orders in every day, and it's 90% of the orders come in. The cow is down and it's wanted immediately, and it won't be there immediately. It'll arrive the next day or 2 days later, and you're as I say, the cow's chances haven't improved by the weight.
Yeah, as you say, Paul, it's a sales point, as you mentioned, but it's a valid point as well. It is something that you need on the day. I'm going to have to leave it there, Paul. I could stay talking to you because there's so much on the website here, calfpens.ie. Busy time of the year for you, Paul. And look, they're good products, and you're helping farmers and you're making life easier for farmers. So that's what we're all about. We'll say many thanks for joining me, Paul, and we'll speak to you again on the programme.
Very good. Thank you, MJ. Thank you.
Paul Dillon there at calfpens.ie. And just before I go to the break, I do see another couple of products here that are interesting. Now, I've spoke about these before on the programme. These are the refractometers, €45, including VAT and delivery, to check the quality of your colostrum, especially for the dairy farmers who are feeding a large number of calves. If you're feeding poor colostrum, it's no good to anybody. And also colostrum storage and thawing kit. I think 1.5 litre fits in these, and then there's a little kit you pop them in and they will defrost in very short space of time. So lots and lots on offer there from that website. Now, going to a break and coming back, Brendan Golden from IFA Connacht is going to be speaking to me about a meeting in Claremorris tomorrow evening with the ongoing dispute with Board B. Stay tuned for that.
Country Life on Midlands 103.
With W.R. Shaw. Looking for the best in farm machinery? We've been supplying top quality New Holland tractors and parts and providing service since 1982. Our expert team is here to keep your farm running smoothly with branches in Tullamore and Carlow. Visit wrshaw.ie today.
And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now, we have Brendan Golden from IFA Connacht on the line. Brendan, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
And thanks, MJ.
You're more than welcome, Brendan. Look, we're all very familiar with what's occurring with Board B and the IFA at the moment, but the protests are ongoing in Dublin. However, it's a meeting in County Mayo you want to speak about this evening. Brendan, can you tell us a little bit what's happening?
Well, look, we've organised a meeting for the MacWilliam Hotel in Claremorris for tomorrow night and Thursday night. And I suppose part of the reason for it was, for a lot of people down this end, it's a fair trek up to Dublin, and Ballsbridge is quite an intimidating place to get to for a lot of people in that it's really deep into the city. So, and people are busy, and I know for myself going up and down, it's usually the guts of a 12-hour shift because you're 3 hours up, 6 hours there and 3 hours back down again. So there's been huge calls and support from the ground and people wanting to do their bit. So we felt, well, if we have a meeting in Claremorris, we can clarify a lot of issues and people can come there to support us as well. And we'll be looking for as many as possible to turn up on the night. And I'm putting the invitation out to everybody, not just IFA members, because I know I've had huge support and calls from the general public as well, with concerns around Brazilian beef coming in and food safety standards and labelling and everything else. So that's basically now where we're coming from. And we have our president, Francie Gorman, and our deputy president, Alice Doyle, addressing the meeting, and I think we could have some other speakers as well, but I'm not going to name them because I'm not sure if everyone is confirmed or not as of yet.
And Brendan, a meeting today, Board B, a meeting today. Any update on that from the IFA's perspective? The only
update I have on that is that the meeting took place. It went on from 10 o'clock until probably 2:30. The way the message I got on it was nothing lost, nothing gained, and more dialogue to happen. And the board members were asked not to discuss it in any way in public, so our president has to abide by that. So we hope that maybe this is positive, that dialogue has started and that maybe there's a bit of common sense coming in, but we are hell-bent on our campaign is going on until we get a result.
Yeah, that was my next question, Brendan. Obviously, we're aware of some of your members who were camped out now for the last couple of weeks in the Board B building, and I would say that they are getting well enough of it. All farmers and families at home that they are away from. It's a long slog, and no doubt they'd like an end to come to it, as would, I suppose, all farmers. Brendan, everyone would like, Adam Wood said it here at the start of the programme as well, they'd like an end to this, really.
Well, look, I don't think there's a farmer in the country that wouldn't like to see an end coming to it. And I have to say that those people in there are amazing, because I know we've been highly concerned about them from the very start, because it's a fierce commitment to make to be in there for the length they're in there. They're gone over 2 weeks at this stage, which is, and I just can't believe it myself. I think I'd go mad if I was in there for this length of time. But they are resolute. We speak to them every single day. The people that go up there on the different shifts speak to them. I was up there the other night. We were waving through the glass doors and we were talking to them on the phone, and they are absolutely resolute that they're staying there until we get a result. And I know for their families at home, it has to be a very difficult situation. I know they're in constant contact and everything, but it is a woeful commitment, and we don't take that for granted for 1 second.
Brendan, just before you go, what time are you meeting tomorrow evening in the McWilliam Hotel in Claremorris?
The meeting is scheduled for 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, and I would be hoping that we get our business done and that we'd have people on the way home again by 10 o'clock, because we know I've had people from outside the room, and I said it at we had National Council yesterday, and I said it at our National Council, everybody is welcome, but I don't expect people now to travel huge distances, so then we still want to get them on the road home early, because these nights people have cows calving and the devil knows what going on at home as well too, and they may have work the following day. So we want the key thing for us is we want a strong turnout. We want to send a strong message from the ground that there's huge support behind us, because this is the thing. There's been huge media spin by the government, by Borbia and everything, that there was no concerns coming from the ground round audits. There was all sorts of rubbish out on votes of confidence having taken place that never happened, and a whole load of rubbish. And all it has done is strengthen farmers' resolve even more. And we're definitely not giving in until we get a result. And I think the bigger the crowd we have, the better it'll show that we're representing our members on the ground. That our president was accused at one stage of spinning this himself, and it was absolutely infuriating for us. We knew it came from the ground, the anger that was on the ground from members because of what they were asked to do and the whole double standard. And that's what I'm listening to the last couple of days.
I'm just going to have to finish off, Brendan. We are just running out of time. But look, your meeting is tomorrow evening, and people can air their grievances at it. We'll say many thanks for joining me here on the programme, Brendan.
Thanks very much.
Brendan Golden there from the IFA, and that meeting is tomorrow evening in Claremorris. And if you are in the region, the IFA are encouraging that you attend. But as I said at the outset, wouldn't we all just like an end to this saga now that's going on and on and on, and is really overshadowing agriculture at the moment? So fingers crossed by next Wednesday evening we have some sort of news and some sort of verdict in relation to it, and we can move on. That is it for this evening's programme. Thank you to all who joined me here over the course of the hour. Adam Woods, editor of the Irish Farmers Journal, with Stan Lawler there from County Laois telling us about productivity in Irish agriculture, Paul Dillon from calfpens.ie, and finally Brendan Golden from the IFA. The show is repeated on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. through to 8 a.m. as always. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts. If you type in MJ space Clery, CLERY, we will pop up. You can listen at your leisure. We're on YouTube as well, so you can watch us there. And I will be back with you next Wednesday evening as always, and we'll speak to you in 7 days' time.